Neil and Karen are just back from our iconic In the Wake of Scott and Shackleton voyage, which travels all the way down to the heart of Antarctica, the Ross Sea. Welcome, guys. It's so good to have you here in the office with us. Obviously still buzzing from the experience.
Oh, it was truly extraordinary. I mean, we've been to many places in the world, but there's nowhere like the Ross Sea. It's so otherworldly. I mean, the wildlife, the history, the geology, the weather, the atmosphere, everything. It's just truly outstanding.
Incredible journey. I would say it's right up there in my top life experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people do throw the word life-changing around, but this is pretty special, right?
I'd always wanted to visit the huts, especially Cape Evans, Scott's Hut, Terra Nova expedition. And I was asked many times, where do you want to go most in the world? And that was the place. And to have actually stepped in there, experienced it, felt it, seen it, and just knowing the story, which of course we learned so much more about on the voyage itself, it was actually very emotional, and really did, it really was a life-changing experience to walk into that hut and know the story and feel everything that they had experienced on that expedition. Incredible.
Absolutely. I mean, those huts are a testament to the Antarctic Heritage Trust and the amazing work that they're doing back down there, right?
The huts, or the Shackleton's huts, or Scott's huts, or Bolsheviks, you go in there, and with the restoration work they've done, very sensitive. I mean, they are like time capsules, and you walk in, and you feel you're going back in time, but also it feels like the guys who were living there have just walked out. I mean, it's quite a spooky feeling in a nice,
I felt like I
emotional
was
way.
Trespassing.
You do. You almost feel they could come back at any moment. It's so perfect. And the thought that they went out and left their personal possessions behind, and of course the conditions down there so dry and cold, over 100 years later, they're as perfect as literally the day they walked out of the hut.
And of course the Trust is doing incredible work to keep it that way, and we're also very grateful to them for everything they're doing in that regard. In fact, I had a very weird experience. It must have meant so much to me that I actually dreamt I was in the hut and I could hear the guys were there from the expedition, and I could hear their accents. They were talking and they were saying, I can't find the matches. And I was looking round on every shelf trying to find the matches for them. And I found the matches and I tried to give them the matches, but they couldn't hear me. They couldn't see me, they couldn't hear me, but I could see and hear them. And I realised I was the ghost. That was the impact it had on me, that I could imagine myself time travelling back to that time.
Absolutely. I think the Ross Sea in that particular part of Antarctica is something that becomes part of you when you go down there. You connect with it, but you also take it away with you, like that icy grip never quite lets go of your heart.
Exactly.
It's quite a beautiful thing.
Oh, and just the atmosphere down there. We spent 2 evenings cruising literally as far south as a ship can go on the edge of the McMurdo ice shelf, and that experience was truly incredible. Not only the ice shelf, which had all kinds of different shapes and sizes and colours, there were emperor penguins on the ice shelf, there were rafting in the water below, there were families of killer whales, orca, every kilometre literally they're feeding. We saw rare-eyed beak whales, we saw minke whales lunge feeding, and all under the midnight sun. The sun was just sitting on a distant volcano, and then the ice was just freezing, so it was water, and then the pancake ice began to fill. I mean, it was almost like in a fairy tale. It was so unusual, such a strange, if you like, and beautiful experience. I mean, that'll live with me forever.
So many people said to me, I bet you feel you're living in one of your own documentaries. And it was true. It's sort of like, I usually spend a lot of time editing something as amazing as this.
Yes.
And I can just do this with a sweep of my head. I can see all these things. And I would take that image because not only, as Neil says, with the huge pods of orca just cruising along that ice shelf, but as they were breathing, you could hear a pin drop, you could just hear the poof, and their breath was golden, backlit from the midnight sun. I will take that image to my dying day, truly. It was incredible.
That is one of the magical parts of going down to that part of the world in the austral summer. I mean, being in the realm of 24-hour daylight does give us the opportunity to spend those 10 to 12 days in Antarctica doing some amazing things, and quite often at unusual hours of the day. I remember being at the world's largest and oldest Adelie penguin colony at 2 a.m. in the morning because the conditions were perfect, and you can sleep on the way back.
Of course.
You may not get that opportunity in your life again. I think that's one of the special things that Heritage Expeditions brings to all of our adventures.
But you spend time, that's the thing about Heritage, you're spending time down there, and as filmmakers we truly know that the more time spent in the location, the more rewarding it is, and the more experiences you're going to have, the more footage you'll come back with. And I think, and also Heritage really understand the locations, they understand the conditions, they know what you can and cannot do, whether should be a Zodiac cruise, whether there should be a landing, and just to fit all those pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together to create the perfect trip it takes a lot of experience and expertise. And the teams are incredible, amazing, and deliver that experience for the passengers and for us. And one of the other things I'd really like to say is that on the way down, I was expecting a bit more, that we would be giving presentations and perhaps a little more downtime. There was no downtime. There were whales everywhere. Come up to the bridge, come outside, port side, starboard side. How many species of whales did we see?
I don't know.
Over 10.
Yeah.
There were humpbacks, there were minkies, there were sperm whales, blue whales,
fin whales, R-nose beak whales.
Not to mention the orca. And the kayak has got the most amazing experience with the orca. And they were saying it was just incredible to see these incredible males with 6 foot, 2 meter high dorsal fins, and there you are low lying in the cut, and we were watching this from the ship and thinking these great dark blades cutting through the ice, looking through the binoculars and through my camera, and I was just thinking, holy smoke, that looks close. And the kayakers were buzzing when they got back on board, and they said, one of my top life experiences ever.
So you've mentioned the wildlife and going into the huts, and enjoying the history and hearing about the conservation of the area. But there's also the simple pleasures of walking on the ice, for example, and,
that was incredible.
Walking past a Waddell seal, how they do their funny clicky noise thing with their dots and their whiskers. There must be
the day we
that.
walked near the Dragowski ice tongue, there was a lovely piece of ice, low ice shelf that we were able to get onto. And what I found extraordinary is you were standing on the ice and you looked out, and it was a blue sky and a clear atmosphere. I don't know how many kilometres you could see, but tens and tens of kilometres. And knowing there was no one out there, this pristine Antarctic landscape as far as the eye could see. And then just as we were walking back to get on the Zodiac back to the ship, there had been emperor penguins around, and Adelies too on the ice there. But these 2 emperors suddenly leapt out of the water, just like you see in a wildlife film. Out of the water, right in front of us, all sleek and glistening.
Just belly flopped.
And it was just an amazing.
Torpedoed out of the water.
Right beside us. It was amazing.
Just like in a wildlife movie.
You couldn't script it better. Do you have a favourite wildlife encounter from that experience?
Well, we had a lovely cruise.
In addition to the ones you've just said.
We had a lovely cruise at Cape Hallett, and we didn't quite know what to expect because there was a lot of ice, and we cruised through these little icebergs, and then we spotted 1 Weddell seal, 2 Weddell seals, and 3, and then eventually we were surrounded by about 50 Weddell seals. And they were so relaxed. We got quite close. They weren't worried. I mean, occasionally they'd look up and look at you and put their head back down. And what was lovely was to be amongst all those animals, and they were so relaxed. It's didn't care that we were there, and they're so cute when they do lift their heads. I got some amazing photographs of those seals, old seals, young seals, and of course they make the most incredible noises. And I'd seen this in Frozen Planet, which I'd helped launch that series, and there's a most wonderful underwater sequence of the males making these noises, and we actually saw them on the beach. And you said, "Oh, I wonder if it's dreaming," because it was sleeping, but its head was twitching. It was making all those weird.
I know, it's like watching a dog as if it was
noises.
catching a rabbit. You can imagine what's going through its head, and I thought it was dreaming.
Yeah.
And there's so many of these encounters. Something I thought I would never see, but apparently happens a lot, according to our expedition leader. I was up on the lookout at Cape Royds, and there were all these straggler adeles that were sort of going out, and some of them were coming back, and just sort of watching a bit of, day-to-day life, like it's very similar as if you're filming, just watching normal animals doing their thing. And this leopard seal appeared, and it was cruising up and down, and I thought, oh, there's a leopard seal. It's very exciting to see a leopard seal. Never in a million years did I think I would see a leopard seal take a penguin right there in front of, and then the technique. I mean, some people wouldn't necessarily, we edit these things in wildlife movies very carefully so as not to upset children and so on.
You can't edit life though.
But you can't edit life. But to see that behaviour, and to see, those penguins run the gauntlet.
And it is a gauntlet.
It is a gauntlet.
And a top predator in action, just eyeing, watching, just, what are the opportunities, and that window of opportunity for a top predator is pretty small, because once they all leave, that's it, it's go find something else to eat.
I mean, if you go to the Serengeti or the Masai Mara, everyone's out, are we going to see a lion hunt? Well, this was the equivalent.
I never thought, and it happened 3 times that day.
Oh wow.
Yeah, 3 times that day. So I was lucky to be in the right place at the right time, but that's pretty frequent. So, and a lot of our passengers saw it, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
1 or 3. Anyway, that was really exciting. And the other thing, that's just something about watching penguins walk, and just watching penguins come up to you, and you are backing off because you're trying to keep your distance.
Yeah. And they don't have that problem though, do
they? They don't have that problem. You do, because you've read the rules. And they're coming up to you. And actually Macquarie was incredible as well, wasn't it, with the kings?
Yeah. So you've actually been down to the Peninsula, Antarctica. How does that compare to the Ross Sea?
Well, both are obviously, wonderful places. The Ross Sea is so much further south. I mean, you cross the Antarctic Circle long before you get there, whereas on the Peninsula side, you're very lucky to even get to the Antarctic Circle.
Yeah.
And then you keep going much, much further south. And I think the big spectacle that you get down in the Ross Sea is those ice shelves that you don't get as when you're visiting the peninsula. I mean, these things 20 metres, 30 metres high, and as far as the eye can see, and the wind coming off them, and and emperor penguins as well, and adeles. Adeles are hard to see in peninsula trips, and of course it's very hard to get to see emperors as easily as we did. And I mean, one of the funny things, well, it wasn't, I don't know whether it was funny or tragic, seeing groups of particularly adeles on the top of the ice shelf, not the 30-metre ones, but some of them sort of 15 metres, and a group of like 20, and you wonder whether had they gone the wrong way? Were they going to jump? I'm sure they could have jumped, but
I think they do.
Yeah. I mean, it was just such a magical image, that this huge ice shelf.
The ice shelf, but also the volcanoes.
I was just going to say that Erebus, right? It's such an iconic mark on the landscape.
Yeah, I mean, Ross Island with those incredible volcanoes. I think I've got a photograph with Erebus puffing away because it's still active. And we had such
well.
You do.
Yes.
And you sort of, wow, there it is, the ice and fire. coming
Fire and ice
together.
together,
Yeah.
Well, there are volcanoes all around, aren't there?
Volcanoes all around, but they are so famous, and they
yeah.
are depicted in some of those historic photographs, and so therefore to see it, so clearly and right there as the ship's cruising past, and that was something because they're landmarks, they're characters in their own right in all of the historic writings, and there they are, probably the same view that Scott and Shackleton and all the guys would have had as we did.
Yeah, no, I mean the huts are right there.
Right
a wonderful
there.
view of the huts and Cape Evans with the volcano behind. It's just
It was a
amazing
pilgrimage.
scene.
It was literally a pilgrimage because you've heard of these things.
Yeah.
And of course, the peninsula is lovely and wonderful in lots of ways, but this was seriously special and unique. That's the other thing. It's truly unique.
I understand that you've sent a few film crews down to the Ross Sea, but this was the first time you've been yourself. So to put that geographically together from what you'd seen in the footage must have been quite a special experience.
It was so
as well,
special to me because I'd seen the footage coming back, filming under the ice, which was all done close to McMurdo Station, Cape Crozier, the biggest Adelie colony, many sequences shot there, and to piece those the geography of those sequences together was fascinating for me personally, because before that they'd just been names, and Erebus, and to see Erebus in the context of all those locations as well. No, it was absolutely fascinating. Really.
Just points on a map.
Yeah,
But that you
No, when you when you experience them, you never forget.
Yeah, absolutely.
Never forget.
Yeah.
I mean, we were very, very fortunate with fantastic conditions and weather, and things were very calm and beautiful light. But there was one day, it was sunny, but the katabatic winds, because we, you have the video and you have the talk and so on, so theoretically what these winds are like. And then we just had one afternoon, about 2 or 3 hours, sailing through these katabatic winds, and to see.
And you know how strong they are, because the ship is it's not rocking, but it's tilted because the winds are blowing the ship at an angle, and you can see the sea is just whipping,
but it feels as if you're living a painting. You know, when you see those the effects of really strong wind,
everything's alive.
Everything's alive.
Yeah.
Everything is moving, and then an albatross just cruises through as if nothing's happening. That was truly amazing, wasn't it?
And what's great about that, of course, is because the winds are coming off the continent. There's no big swells associated with them.
Yes,
Katabatic winds. They're incredibly strong, but you're in relatively calm conditions on the ship. You wouldn't be in a Zodiac then. And the ship.
I think that was the same day that we saw the diamond dust.
Oh, right.
Where every little particle in the air freezes.
It's shimmering.
And it looked, and you feel like you're in a Disney movie. And it's just literally like, oh wow,
no, it's
diamonds.
Like diamonds. It is like diamond, little
We used to call
diamonds.
it fairy dust. The only time I've ever experienced that was at -26 to -30 in Yellowstone National Park at altitude in winter. That's the only other place I've actually experienced it. And to see it within that landscape was incredible.
Yeah, just one of those memories, one of many that that you'll just have forever now.
Because you're experiencing the Earth in a way, our planet, in a way which you can't normally do.
Exactly.
That's what makes it so memorable as a trip. You've got so many of these special lifetime memories.
So this voyage also includes subantarctic islands of Australia and New Zealand. Equally an incredible experience that you get to enjoy with this as well. Condé Nast Traveller actually called out the Australia and New Zealand subantarctic islands along with heritage expeditions and our voyages in their iconic travel list of the 25 best places to go in 2025. How did you briefly touched on Macquarie Island as well, but then you've also got the Snares, Auckland and Campbell Island as well on this voyage. Equally impressive places in the world.
I love Campbell Island too. We went up to see the albatross, and just because normally you're just seeing them from the ship and their amazing ability to fly, but to see them on land so close looking at the detail of their plumage and their, with their special beak and so on, and those adaptations. And when they walk, and they're huge, absolutely huge birds, and when they're walking, you think, oh my goodness, how can something, as to be honest, quite ungainly sometimes, be so incredible when they take off? And the chicks were lovely, just so adorable. I enjoyed the albatross.
I think what's great is, you've got the white bit and you've got the green bit, and they are so different in terms of the voyages, and the greenery and the difference, so many different species of penguin, and the numbers, the hundreds of thousands.
And the vegetation.
Of royals at Macquarie, and the hundreds of thousands of kings, and then seeing all the snares crested coming down those rock slides and the rock hoppers at the Auckland Island, the diversity of just in the penguins, let alone the birds and the vegetation was incredible.
And the yellow eyes in amongst the vegetation.
Yes.
It's a little, that enchanted forest.
In the world.
The enchanted forest with this lovely little character. And the mega herbs. Just such different vegetation to what you're used to and what you normally experience.
And of course, it not only makes the journey down to Antarctica really interesting, but it also means you have actually very few sea days on the way. Because you're stopping off at all these islands on the way, which are, each one is incredibly fascinating. The wildlife there and the landscapes, amazing in their own right.
And also, you have got a cast of thousands. When you look at your photographs afterwards with the penguins, and you think, my goodness, that rivals anywhere on the planet in terms of what photograph you can get. A cast of thousands. That's with the royals and with the kings, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think Lusitania Bay on Macquarie Island, where there's no beach, it's just penguins everywhere, and you can see the rusting digesters there in the middle from the ill-fated penguin turn seals and penguins into oil. Good to see that nature's bounced back, but it's just flipper penguin. No spotted beach, which is quite cool. One of the good things about it is with these subantarctic islands, and you talk about the penguins, so you see the snares crested penguin. That's snares is the only place in the world you can see that.
Exactly.
The royal penguin, that's the only place in the world you can see it is Macquarie Island. Enderby Island, you've got the yellow-eyed penguin or the hoi-ho.
Also rare.
Also very rare. Their own species of shags and teal, snipe, and so on. Lots of unique species.
And it just when we sail past those incredible rocks, just as you're leaving Macquarie, and literally the topography is so photogenic, and all the birds flying around, and it's like something out of a painting. It's just wonderful to know that there are these true wildernesses left on the planet. And we had just the most amazing time experiencing it.
Excellent. So if we could just talk about our flagship vessel, Heritage Adventure. So she was purpose-built for going to places like the heart of Antarctica, highest passenger ice class rating. She does traverse some of the more notorious stretches of water on this voyage. How did you find your onboard experience?
Much calmer than I was expecting. I bought a lot of... I'm very lucky I don't suffer from seasickness generally, but I did bring some stuff in case. Didn't touch it once. She is so stable, and we were very lucky with our conditions, but I think the ship is generally very stable.
Wow.
She is built
for that.
Specifically.
So comfortable, and the fact you can go out and it was down in Antarctica at times it was -5 and the conditions
down to -12.
Our Antarctic and to be able to come back into that comfort, each day is just wonderful. And of course, it has the big picture windows, whether you're up on the observatory level on deck 7, or on the bridge, or even in the dining room. So it brings the outside inside, so it can be quite atrocious outside, and you can experience that from the comfort of the vessel, and that's very good.
And a lot of people did actually. They just, and then of course, as everybody's serene, looking out the windows, and then there is a whale again. Everybody gets up and goes to see the whale, but it was just very, very comfortable, very convenient. The food, of course, is amazing, and just the lounge. So many spaces that you can enjoy, and you can find your privacy. You can be sociable. You can find members of the expedition team all over the ship, and I just think it's. I can't imagine a better vessel to enjoy that environment, to be honest.
No, it's very nice size, very nice size.
I think, and then you touched on it with some of the other guests as well. It's obviously a very special experience, which is shared with some people that are like-minded, and it's not uncommon for people to make lifelong friends. I've certainly very good friends with some of the people that I went on my voyage down to Antarctica with, and they are older than my parents. But yeah, we have this amazing connection to that voyage.
Well, it's a shared experience.
Yeah.
And a unique experience. And I think that does bond people together very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I noticed many of the guests saying, I don't know how I'm going to explain this when I get home.
I know.
And they said, I don't think I'm even going to start trying, because the only people I can really share it with are the people that were there. And words can't do it.
Yeah.
And I think that probably sums it up.
Luckily, you have the slideshow film that we send you at the end. So
Yes, thank goodness.
So many wonderful memories.
Yeah, exactly. And, in many cases, it was hard not to take a good photo down there.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Final question: if someone was going to join us or are joining us, what if you could give them a piece of advice to take down with them?
First of all, make sure you do.
It's
amazing.
Yeah, make sure you go. Yeah, make sure you go.
And the other thing is, I think, it's an experience. It's make sure you do experience. It's not just about photos and so on and important how they are. Just immersing yourself in that environment is life-changing, magical. It's like nowhere else on the planet. Spend time.
Yeah.
Spend time just watching and being in that environment.
Yeah, even if it's just out on deck.
Yeah.
Just watching the light change, watching the waves.
Put the camera down, be in the moment.
Be in the
present.
moment.
Yeah, that's when you have that really strong connection.
Yeah.
It becomes quite wonderful.
And on a practical note, layers are helpful.
Yeah. All right, I think that will be a wrap there. Look, thank you so much, guys. It's been awesome to have you in the office and do this one-on-one rather than Zoom like we normally do. Make sure you hang around and catch our next Heritage Live. And until next time, safe travels.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
See you soon.
Yeah.